Joe Rogan thinks that Chatgpt could become Ex Machina. Are you ready for that? That's what he's talking about in this clip I'm about to show you. We're at 1919 with Brett Weinstein of the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best insights to the podcast you love, smash that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
When you look at what this does and what it's capable of, and what I think what scares people is something that seems to be a person, but doesn't have any emotion, doesn't have any soul. It's not us, but it behaves exactly as us. And then you can put it in a physical entity. So if you have this Chatgpt and then you extrapolate to version 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's a physical thing that has this ability inside of it to communicate with you like Ex Machina, where it's exhibiting all of the behavior characteristics of a person. Like, one of the most terrifying that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. One of my favorite movies of all time was when that guy who was brought in to sort of run some tests on these artificial intelligence creations and determine whether or not they pass as human. What is that test called again? The
Turing test?
Turing test.
Yeah.
And he is in love with this woman. She's manipulated him to the point where he's aided her in her escape. And then she leaves him in that room with the bulletproof glass, and he's pounding on the glass, and she walks away with not a thought at all about him. It is the ultimate example of the worst case scenario of where this can go, where you have something that behaves exactly like a human being and knows how to play upon your sexual urges, your emotional desires, all of those different things that she plays upon. And then she just walks away from him and leaves him to starve to death in this fucking bulletproof room.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm now recalling the film, and it's done very well because it manipulates you passively in your seat.
Yes.
Right, as it manipulates this character on the screen. And so you are betrayed too.
Yes.
In this. You want to believe that it's emotional, and it has none of that.
You feel bad for this woman, what
Right.
you think is a woman, who is contained. And, you know, when she's saying to him when the power goes out, don't trust him. And then, you know, the power comes back on, she behaves normally again. You're like, oh my God. Like, she's trapped.
Right.
Like this poor creature, they've made a person, essentially. And she has these thoughts and hopes and dreams, just like a regular person, but now she's trapped. And he falls in love with her. And even though he's seen her in her robot form, when she puts skin on and when she puts clothes on and she's in front of him, he's in love with her.
Right. And it, you know, again, it plays very well because there's a manipulable circuit in straight men.
Yeah.
Right. That's going to react to this.
I'm sure straight women as well. I'm sure gay women,
Gay women,
men.
no doubt.
Everybody.
Well, yes, but in this particular narrative,
Right,
you'd
but I
have to
mean-
be a gay woman or a straight man
Right.
for it to trigger you. But part of this is actually inevitable in the Chatgpt story, because especially to the extent that this is a mindless entity that doesn't know what it's doing. It's
Right.
just striving to do it better.
Yes.
The tactics that work will register as, oh, you did it right. So to the extent that you have those vulnerabilities in you and it finds them and that works, then the point is reinforcement. Right?
It scares us because it's not us, but it is us.
Well-
because it's behaving exactly like us, but it doesn't have all the things that make a person a person. It doesn't have the biological vulnerabilities. It doesn't have the ability to actually sexually reproduce. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have all these different things that we like to think of. The soul.
It's amazing that this is a real conversation. This is a real this is not conspiracy. He's not sitting with Eddie Bravo right now. This is Brett Weinstein. He's a very smart man. They're not high right now. They're not wearing spacesuits like he does with Duncan Trussell. This is a real conversation that they're having. And it's mind blowing. And I'm always here for the positivity. This sounds very bleak, possibly. But the way that I see this is, maybe, how they say when somebody dies, it's like, oh, I should have gave them their flowers, try to give people their flowers before it's too late, before they pass away, right? And this means that you should say all the things and you should appreciate them to the full extent that you possibly can. Say all the things you need to say to them, or when somebody has a heart attack, then they start working out really hard. It's like it takes something that almost makes you lose everything for you to appreciate what you have in life, appreciate who you are in life. Maybe that's what we should be doing now with each other. Maybe we should really be appreciating the fact that when you go to a store, the clerk is a real guy. Maybe you should be appreciating that Uber Eats driver. It's me sometimes. Maybe you should be appreciating that. And instead of just saying, leave it at the door, which we do appreciate. We love that. We love dropping it off and walking away. But maybe you should, open the door and be like, hey, man, what's up? Maybe we should be appreciating the fact that there's someone on the other side of the comments that you leave. Maybe we should be appreciating the fact that there's people on the other end of emails, that there's people who are actually building the things that you use. There's people who are actually writing you letters. There's people. Maybe we should get really appreciative of the fact that there are people and they're around and we can talk to them. And when we have conversations, they're real conversations, because we don't know if this is all serious. We don't know how long that's going to last. Not every conversation you have on Instagram is, I won't say that it's like some AI that you're talking to, but sometimes it's like you think you're talking to some black guy from New York, but it's really like a Russian person that's, in Moscow. Or sometimes you think you're talking to a Russian person and it's really, so, you know what I mean? It's like we're getting to a point where things are getting so gray and so deceptive. It's like maybe, like when you're at a store, you ever seen like self-checkout? Like I never use self-checkout. My father-in-law will never use self-checkout. My wife and I, we just don't do that because we appreciate that there's a person over there that's like trying to work and make money and has a family. So we always go, no matter how long the line is. And sometimes it sucks to do, but get to interact with a person. There's value in that. And you feel like there's not because you've been so used to doing it. But as soon as it gets taken away, you're going to understand how valuable it is. Nobody appreciates clean air and grass and stuff. And then you get thrown in jail and it's all you can think about. No one appreciates, you never appreciate, I know because I've been sick recently. You never appreciate breathing clearly. And then all of a sudden your nose gets clogged up and you're like, oh, those days where I could just breathe. Oh, those days where I could just not cough and hack up phlegm. Oh, those were the days. You're like, I can't even remember those days. Maybe we need to really get into a place where we're appreciating each other, because maybe if we did get into that place where we truly did appreciate each other, that this wouldn't even be happening. We wouldn't allow it. But we value convenience so much and pushing buttons to open up doors and just having to do the least amount. When we're writing, we don't even have to write the word. You can just look away and just click buttons and the thing writes it for you. You never have to Google anything with any real intent. You just kind of know the word a little bit and it writes it out for you. Maybe if we just started appreciating all the realness that we have around us right now, appreciating hard work. Maybe if we just started appreciating all this stuff now, we wouldn't get to a point where there's this AI thing that's going to answer all of our questions and do all of our work. And maybe even the mention, maybe if we were in that state of appreciation for like the past 20, 30 years, maybe even the mention of something like this would make us go, what are you talking about? I don't want that. I don't want that. This thing will answer any questions for you. I don't want that. I want a person to answer my questions. You know? Like, do we want to get to the point where, like, I'm not even real? Like, if we keep going down this path, you'll get to a point where you don't even care if I'm real. You'll just be like, whatever, man. Google made this guy, and I kind of like his commentary, and it's like, whatever. It's the same as video editing. It's just that they edit a guy into it now, and they just make his voice out of the voices that I like. The past 50 voices that I heard, it's just a compilation of those, and it's fine, whatever. He's cool. You want to get to that point? I don't want to get to that point. You know? And not just because I'm this guy right now, but just because, like, I appreciate people so much. I appreciate talking to people so much. I appreciate helping people so much. I don't know. But it's getting spooky. I'm telling you, go check this podcast out. It's 1919, Brett Weinstein, Joe Rogan Experience. It's links in the description. When it gets to 2 hours and 25 minutes, it gets really, wow. It takes it, you know, and to Joe Rogan, it's like, you know, it takes this AI thing coming out of nowhere for us to get that Joe Rogan that's talking all of this like metaphysical, expansive type of stuff. Like, he's not even high right now. He's back to it. I love it. Check this one out, guys. I'm out.